guys. Welcome to the new episode of the First Responder Playbook. I'm joined today by Coach Karen Gray. Karen Gray is the founder of the Confidence Coding. She helps high level leaders rewire their beliefs and build unshakable confidence by remembering who they truly are. She teaches practical brain based strategies so your mind becomes your greatest ally instead of your biggest adversary. Karen, thanks for joining me tonight.
I appreciate it, Brent. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Um, so I want to talk a little bit about your journey into coaching. How did you decide you wanted to go down the coaching route?
So I spent about 20 something years in financial services and serving in the banking industry, financial planning, and had an opportunity to start coaching girls that were in pageant world on their speaking abilities and loved it. That just kind of evolved into me helping them with other things. And really, what I saw through that whole process was this underlying need that happens when we're faced with any kind of judgment. Because these girls are putting themselves in pageants to be judged. But what that highlighted was we're judged constantly. And if we aren't confident in who we are, our ability to present ideas, lead others, then we're missing the boat on so many opportunities. And I saw in these young girls things that I was struggling with and had been struggling with, from super young age up until my mid 30s. And so it was just this realization that if we don't handle those things and deal with those things and get those challenges out of the way, they're going to be roadblocks. And so I just dove in head first, started coaching on other things, coaching myself, got really supported, and fell in love with the whole journey. And so I've been coaching part time ever since, started full time in 2020.
Kind of the perfect time to start full time because we were working from home. Did you do a
Yeah.
lot of your coaching like over Zoom and
Almost all of my coaching is remote. It's just so easy. It's you don't have to be, face to face. And honestly, people seem to be they just hold back less when there's this barrier of the virtual, screen in front of them. They feel more protected, and so people tend to divulge more. They can relate more. It builds around their schedule, so it's just a win-win. But yeah, I had not planned on starting coaching full time in 2020. My position at that time was very public facing and some layoffs happened. And so I had a perfect 3-year plan. I was going to retire from financial services in 2023. And I was working part time with the Cancer Society. I was going to step away from that. And that all got escalated with 2020, but it was perfect timing. It really was.
so I recently went through two coaching programs actually, but that's actually my
Hmm.
concentration, my doctorate as well as leadership and executive coaching.
Love
But I
that.
really feel deep inside of me what you said in that if you don't believe in yourself or you don't feel totally
Hmm.
confident in yourself,
Yeah.
you don't take those risks. And so like actually, like I said, I've been through two coaching programs now that I finished and I'm doing a doctorate on it and I know my stuff.
Hmm.
It's just putting yourself out there and I'm just like, mm-hmm. And so I'm glad we made this connection because maybe I need a little bit of confidence in my life.
I got your back. I got your back. So
But I
it's
see that a lot in first responders as well, though. We're entrusted to make life and death decisions,
right.
and guys freeze up. They freeze up when it matters because they're not confident in themselves, and that's why you're here tonight. Is because I truly think that you have a message that can help first responders.
Yeah, thank you. I shared this with you before the call. My husband is a former police officer from here in we live in Dallas, Texas area, so he was in Grand Prairie and grew up with my dad being in the mounted patrol. So he was a volunteer, but my dad and my brother were both in mounted patrol in New Mexico. And what I saw over and over again is rather than facing these challenges, oftentimes, I wanted to say men, but it's, anyone in a first responder position learns to compartmentalize really well. So that doesn't mean you're dealing with it. You're just putting it in a box and setting it aside until something triggers that box open. And then it's can be catastrophic, or it can just create chaos, or it can be destructive. And so the best way to deal with that is to manage it now while you're being proactive rather than reactive. And so those triggers are just a reminder that there is an underlying challenge, obstacle, belief that came from a thought that you learned somewhere in your past. And 9 times out of 10, that thought was created, or that pattern belief was created when you were under the age of 15. And, trauma is very relevant. For one person, trauma could be something devastating, like watch someone get murdered, or you were abused, or something horrible. And for others, it's just something simple, like you lost your mother in the grocery store and you felt abandoned, and all of a sudden now you have this fear. So it's very relative. There's no judgment in what caused the trauma, what caused you to feel like you weren't capable of, fill in the blank, making a decision, being out front, being seen as a leader, having the weight of the world of those decisions on you, whatever it is that seems to be that barrier to the next level. I would say 99.9% of the time, it's going to be because somewhere inside there is a thought that you created a belief and a habit around, and we just need to get to the root of that. And once you root that out and not only change the thought pattern, but change the belief code around that, you then create a new confidence code. And I have a process and a pattern I go through, and it feels a little esoteric, like, oh, that's kind of woo woo, but it's so simple, yet it's so practical that you can easily do it, and it's easy to teach others to do it as well.
So how do you start going down that process? You know,
Hmm.
I feel I don't want to say your pain, um, but especially in the first responder world,
Hmm.
but maybe even a little bit just because I'm in Oklahoma. Um, I feel like coaching's still not out there, and so like when you tell people that you're a coach, they look at you like, "Oh, you're a therapist,"
Yeah.
or you're speaking a foreign language when you talk about it, and you try to explain it to them. They're like, "Well, I want advice."
Hmm.
That's not really what coaching is.
Right.
So I feel that a lot actually. How do you get past that initial barrier, and then what are some steps to start working on your confidence?
I think for many people, they associate coaching with athletics. So if we could take you to that place, a coach in athletics a great coach is going to guide you to be a better athlete. They don't actually have to do the sport. They have to know how to help you do your sport better. And so, a coach for business, a coach for confidence, we're helping you get to a better place, get out of your own way. You're going to be a master at what you do, but somewhere along the way, you've picked up things that aren't serving you. So, we're going to help you lay those down, find a better way to do it, to be the best version of you that you can be. And so, yeah, coaching isn't necessarily, it's not a mentor, it's not a teacher, it's not a therapist. It is really helping you optimize you. Now, along the way, probably like you, we may put on the hat of a advisor or a teacher or a mentor. We may wear those different hats at different times, but we're really clear that we're never offering therapy. So therapy is when you have someone that is they're not in a healthy way. They're working on the past So they're trying to heal and figure out the past. Coaching is taking you from present and moving you forward. That's the best way for me to describe that. Now, what I believe, and this may not be something that everybody can relate to, but I believe that we have a physical body, we have a emotional body, and then we have a spiritual body. And so all three of those have to be in alignment and operating on the same trajectory for you to be in your most optimal performance. And so if any one of those three have a roadblock, have something that's not functioning well, then you're going to start having to compensate for that. And so I think in my experience, because, I was also adopted. And so that's where my core route that I had to navigate through for my confidence issues started. I had to go in and figure all of that out because I was making my adoption mean something about who I was, what I was capable of, what my value was, what my worth was, and what I could receive as an adult in the world. And it just created this whole laundry list of problems for me that I was creating on my own. And so, once I got that out of the way, I could then kind of line up everything else. And so it all starts with remembering who you are and who you were born to be.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Um, I think that we're always in such a have to be an alpha
Mm,
role
right.
that people kind of forget to be themselves.
Gosh.
And
Yeah.
and I think that they try to fit in just to fit in a lot of times, especially in this world of, well, I just want to fit in with everybody else.
Sure.
And instead of just being themselves, and
Well, and
that's
I don't know about you, but the world, well, in America, depending on where you're listening to this from, in Texas and Oklahoma, especially, men are supposed to look a certain way, act a certain way. Boys don't cry, right? We've all heard that saying. And men don't show emotion. You can't show that you're weak. You have to be this alpha guy, especially if you're in law enforcement, because you're facing life or death situations. If you're a first responder, firefighter, you are literally holding people's life in your hands every day. And so there is no room for weakness in those moments. So when you step out of that role or step out of that position and you're at home, now there's a whole nother level of responsibility on you. And if you're carrying that level of responsibility along with what society is telling you have to do on top of your job responsibilities, my God, it's no wonder feel like you're carrying the weight of the world, because literally you are. And there's this dichotomy of a whole nother part of our society that's telling men to be emasculated, to be, that a woman's better than them, or there's this whole dynamic of the masculine and the feminine. And the truth of the matter is, we both, men and women, male and female, have masculine and feminine energetic qualities. Masculine is just a way of doing things, and feminine is a way of nurturing things. And so it's who we be as a human, and masculine is, what we do as a human. So it's the physical action, and then the feminine is the nurturing, loving side of us. So we each have that. Men just typically, males have more of the masculine energy and are kind of suggested to reject and not embrace the feminine side, which is not fair and not true.
yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with that. It is something that we think as a culture overall
Hmm.
struggle with,
Right.
and
Yeah, it's definitely cultural. You're right. That's a great opinion of it. It's a cultural thing.
So what are some things that you wish everybody knew about confidence?
So, one of the things that, especially for women, that we need to know is, and like this is just a human thing, so I'm not going to quantify it, but is to know that we are valuable just because we were born, just because we're here. That makes us valuable. Therefore, there's nothing that we could do to be more valuable. Now, can we use our skills differently? Can we apply ourselves and be more productive or make more money or have more success? Yes, but that doesn't make you valuable. That isn't where your worth is derived from. And if people could just understand that and understand that they don't have to put on a mask and present themselves in a way that's not authentically true for them, and they can still be valuable. They can still show up in the room as impactful, as a leader. That is when you make the most impact rather than when we put on this mask or when we're carrying all of the burdens of the world and we're projecting that onto everybody else with anger or resistance or resentment. There's so many things that stand in the way that don't have to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, what what do you think is the most when you're coaching
Mhm.
somebody, what are the ways you break down some barriers to help kind of start rebuilding that confidence with people? Because I feel like you probably very early, especially in the coaching process, they probably throw up a lot of barriers to you of why they can't do that. How do you challenge them and make them start becoming better?
Yeah, one of my favorite things to share with someone, and everybody can take this away from the call and use it, is I believe that there is little t things that we believe are true. We can convince ourselves they're true. We can find proof that they're true. And then there's big T truth. And so those are the things that are um, just they're the laws of the universe or they're undeniable, irrefutable. That's the truth. And so, for example, little t would be I could say, I'm not good at blah, blah, blah. I'm not good at public speaking. And I can find plenty of proof to show that I'm not good. See, I'm not getting hired. See, that person thought this. I got this comment. I didn't get paid very much. I can find thousands of reasons that could be true. But I could also find thousands of reasons why it is true. So it's very subjective. Something that's true is not necessarily um, the facts. It's not the truth because the truth is I could be a better speaker if I got more practice, if I put myself out there more. So the truth is, I have the opportunity to be a better speaker if I applied myself and wanted to. That's the truth. So, this little t, big T, I think is something that just absolutely determines how we can show up because we convince ourselves of things because we can say, there's, here's the proof. So, obviously, this is true. Yeah, it is. Whatever you look for, you will find. And so, if you're a leader or if you're someone that struggles with feeling confident, you can find 100 reasons to back up why you're not confident, why you're not capable, why you don't have whatever it is that you desire. But just the fact that you desire it makes you capable of achieving it. So now stand in your truth. What is the truth here? And when you ask yourself that, is this true or is this the truth? Then you really get to the heart of the matter. And that's the best place to start to just navigate through that whole muddiness.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly in that we oftentimes find the truth of
Hmm.
why we can't do something, and I think it's just us grasping at straws to maybe not push our own comfort zone a little bit.
Well, we're so good at staying because as a human, our one of our core needs is to be safe or to feel secure. And so if something feels like an edge, if it feels scary or dangerous, we can find proof to talk ourselves out of it.
Yeah.
So we may feel called to step into another level of leadership, but that requires me. I can't be the exact same person I am and be there. I have to grow, I have to stretch, I have to take on maybe some more skills. And if I'm not willing to put myself out there because of fear of failure, the lack of confidence, or any, fill in the blank thing, I can convince myself why it's better to not try.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, I'm sure I've done that
Oh, we all
several
have.
times in my life.
We
You,
all
you
have.
know, and it makes it makes it true because you're
Mhm.
sitting there thinking, you're like, man, did I have I done that? And you're like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Think about like just working out, for example. I can talk myself into 100 excuses why I don't have the time to go work out. And literally, it's true. But if it was a priority, the truth is, I physically need to go work out. It's good for my body. It's good for my health. I need it, strength resistance for my bones. So the truth is, I just haven't prioritized it. We all have the same amount of days or same amount of hours in our days. And there are plenty of people working out. I can find proof of that. So I can find proof that it doesn't fit in my schedule, or I can find proof that I've just not made it a priority. And if I rearrange my priorities, I have plenty of time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that's I think we do a lot in the first responder world is, well, we're busy, or hey, we work
Sure.
6 days a week, and they don't want to make things that a priority as a crutch sometimes.
Sure.
It's more of, yeah, I could go do that, but I could use that extra, hour and a half of sleep.
Right.
And what you really could use is the workout. And
Mhm.
trust me, I've been the world's worst at that at times.
And we all do. But also, don't you see that um, first responders, and this is what I've seen, my husband said that this was really true for him. Um, there's kind of this dynamic of those that put themselves first and they prioritize themselves, they kind of get slammed like having a big ego. And then those that don't, they they're highlighted because they're selfless. They're putting others before them. When the truth of the matter is, if you're not taking care of yourself first, you're really not fully present or can't be fully the best version of yourself for everybody else. So it's not about having an ego. It's really about prioritizing self care so that you can be the best version of yourself. And when you put it in that capacity and put it in, look at it through that lens, there's so many things that we put off doing for the sake of others because I don't want to be selfish, right? I don't want to be selfish and take time away from my family. But you
Yep.
may need that time. Like for those, we're right now it's August, we're coming up on hunting season pretty soon. Um, some women think of being a hunting widow. I see that that's my husband's time to go recharge his batteries and fill his cup full. So he comes home, a happier husband so that he can go serve in his capacity better. Um, I just think we all have the opportunity and right to put ourselves first, to love ourselves first so that we can be the best version for others. So if you're struggling with that, if that's something you have been taught by example or by the world's, cultural thing that you can't put yourself first, self-care is imperative for you to be successful in the way that you serve as a first responder, in the way that you lead. You have to be whole to help others.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly in that. We really, I mean, I do it as well, in that we're
Mhm.
so worried about helping others that we neglect ourselves.
Yeah, 100%.
and we do it every day, you
Right.
know? And then when it's finally is time to recognize that, like, hey, we probably should have slowed down a little bit, then
Mhm.
it's kind of, I don't want to say too late, but you're playing catch up at that point.
Right, you're doing damage control rather than, getting ahead of it and doing maintenance.
Yes.
And it's just
And
like a house, right? It's so much easier to maintain your house than it is to go in and fix all of the things that have been neglected. Your body's your house. And so take care of it so you can be the strongest, best version of you to fulfill all the things that are on your heart to do. But man, sometimes it's just so hard. And especially if you don't have the support at home, makes it extra hard. Um, another thing that my husband, when he started law enforcement, we were not together. He was married to someone else. And he did not have that outlet when he came home. It wasn't safe to download all the things that he was seeing and dealing with and managing. And man, he bottled that up. And that was not healthy either. So that greatly impacted his ability to share and speak and download his truth. It just wasn't ever safe. And
yeah,
so, for someone that is struggling with either self care or doesn't have, that person at home to download that to or in your life, maybe you're, single at this time. I would say it's really important to find that person that can support you in that way, even if it's just a sounding board or a coach that can help you process these things, because having all of that bottled up impacted him in physical ways, in emotional ways, spiritual ways. It impacted everything like a cancer.
yeah. And it probably took him a while to realize that.
It did. And it actually ended up being, a reason why he left law enforcement because it impacted his health. So he's not in law enforcement today. Um, and that's one of the biggest reasons is his blood pressure and anxiety began to just be out the roof. And he's like, I'm not anxious about anything, but he was having panic attacks. And it literally was just all of this stuff, years and years piled down and bottled in, um, ready to explode at any moment. So that's not safe.
No, it's 100% not. And I've been there,
Yeah.
and it's not fun. I'll never forget. I, I'm to the point in my career, I don't really care. I like if people judge me for stuff.
Sure.
It's just one of those things that they probably been there too, and they're just not
Mhm.
willing to admit it. But I never forget the first time I ever had a panic attack. I thought I was having a heart attack at like 31,
Yeah.
and it was probably 4 or 5 years into my police career.
Mhm.
I'd seen a lot of crazy stuff even in that short amount of time.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I never forget that I was literally sitting I lived by myself at the time, and I was playing Xbox. Nothing stressful. Wasn't thinking about work, and like I just started getting hot all over, and like I could feel my heart beating and racing. And the
Yeah.
next thing I know, like I'm just like, man, should I call an ambulance?
Mhm.
And I thought I was going to pass out. And my parents, luckily, they lived like 20 minutes away. And I called them. I'm like, I think I'm having a heart attack. And they're like, no, you're not. I'm like, no, I'm being dead serious. Like, I need to go to the hospital. And they took me, and I went to the ER, and which I think it made it worse. I knew all the nurses from being a cop.
Right.
And, the doctor checks everything. And he's like, have you ever had a panic attack before? And I'm like, Doc, I'm a cop. Like, no, I've never had a panic attack. And he's like, well, you have now.
Wow.
And that was the first time I realized that and I'm very good about self-processing and,
Mhm.
like, just thinking through things, and even I've gotta take care of myself
Yeah.
because if it can happen to me, and I'm very good at doing those type of things, it can happen to anybody.
Absolutely. And if you feel like at any point in time you could get triggered, lose your cool because you have all of this bottled up, you could have a panic attack, you could not be able to defend yourself because, you're physically overweight and you're not able to do the things that you do, run as fast or whatever. There's so many things that can impact your confidence on top of just the underlying issues. And they're all connected. If you fix the core root, everything else begins to kind of domino and start improving. And so at the root, it's just these core beliefs that are impacting and creating habits that then kind of perpetuate and domino into other challenges.
Yep, I agree wholeheartedly. So let's talk about you. You've got some resources. You've got the Reclaim Your Confidence course, the self-worth quiz,
Mhm.
um, and I really like the self-worth superpower call because I think we
Yeah,
all truly have superpowers that we don't realize.
I do.
Um,
Yeah, I agree. And, a lot of my stuff is really geared towards women, but I would love to create something just for our first responders that could be maybe just like a confidence check in where you just have somebody that's a sounding board. So I will get you that information.
yeah,
And if somebody's interested in just having, like, maybe they don't know if this is something for them or not, they don't know if this is what's impacting them, but they're just not getting to that next level. Um, my heart's for our first responders. Absolutely respect and love these guys and women that are out there serving in such a big way and underappreciated, overworked, often underpaid. So I'm more than happy to gift you a session where you just have somebody to kind of download and see if this is something that would be helpful for you to get more support with. Or maybe just, one session will kind of kickstart it and get you in the right direction.
that's awesome. That's awesome of you, and I'm sure you will definitely have some people take you up on that.
Yeah, totally honored.
On the
Thank you.
quiz,
Mhm.
I kinda wanted to talk about that,
Yeah.
because I'm a big, like we talked off air, I'm getting in the coaching business myself and
Yeah.
stuff. I really think that that is something that first responders will buy into because there's a little bit of something they can see at that point, and so I was looking that over and I was like, I really like that because we often will, try to self-process, and then, you're like, "Man, I'm not seeing the results."
Mhm.
And then those quizzes, you're like, "Hey, look, there's some results." And it's
Yeah.
kind of that nudge to help you start improving yourself. And so I love that.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's good also because the questions, if you slow down and really read them, they cause you to reflect. And when you
Yep,
start that inner reflection, you begin some conversations of revealing some things that maybe you haven't been willing to admit before. And that is the first step to really getting some answers. And so I love the quiz for that reason. And, I've tried to kind of gamify it a little and make it fun. But for someone that's, wanting to go through it, they find out, what their self confidence saboteur is and, where they are in their superpowers. And then you start thinking, okay, well, Superman has kryptonite. What's my kryptonite? And what's really so kryptonite's like the thing that trips you up. What is the
yep.
thing that's triggering you that's really holding you back from stepping into that most, superpower self? So love to give that to you guys as well. So yeah, thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you've got your own podcast. Let's talk about that for a minute. How did
I
you
do.
decide that you were gonna go down the podcast world?
So I had my best friend had a podcast. She had started it probably, I guess, a year before that. I started it in 2020 when I was starting to coach. It was a way during the pandemic that I could stay connected. I'm very much that person that likes to be out there talking and networking and meeting people. So the isolation was horrible for me during the pandemic. And what I knew about and something I had spoke about was, along the way, we all pick up baggage and we have these bags
Yes.
that we carry things. So if something happens, a trauma, we put it in the bag and now we carry it. Now it's part of our identity. So, I was carrying my adoption. I was carrying the abandonment. I was carrying the anger. I was carrying resentment. There's couple divorces in there. So I was carrying the shame and the guilt of that, all of these things. And what I realized one day is I had a choice. Did I want to carry those things or did I want to take and learn from those things and realize how they had helped me become the person that I was today and just carry the lessons, let the rocks go? And so I created the Rock Movers podcast. And it's about really the process that we all can go through to lay down the rocks and carry the lessons. And that's part of this confidence coding program, is that we get to choose. And
I love
so
that.
I love
Where
talking about that.
where can they check this out at? Like, where is it a video? Is it audio only?
It's no, it's video and audio. You can find it on my YouTube, on Spotify, Apple. Just Google Rock Movers, 2 words, and or Karen Gray. There's a link off of my Karen Gray, Coach Karen Gray. Sorry, everything's Coach Karen Gray. But my YouTube page has my Rock Movers podcast in it. So yeah, absolutely.
So you've been doing it since 2020, so
Mhm.
5 years. How many episodes are you in now?
I just recorded like 125. Um,
Wow.
I'm, I think we're at like 103 that are actually public. We're in our 7th season. So my seasons don't necessarily go 12 months. They're, based on a theme or
Gotcha.
a set of podcasts. So I just finished up my men's only season. So
That's awesome.
season 6 was just for the boys.
That's awesome. I really think, I tried to do a podcast and probably it was right around COVID
It's a
time.
lot of work.
You and I didn't, and that's the thing is I think I didn't realize what all went into it.
Hmm.
Um, and I quit pretty quickly. It was audio only. I'm kind of a dork. I love the paranormal stuff, and
How fun.
it was paranormal themed, and like I mean that's like outside of sports and police work. That's probably the one thing that I could talk for hours about. But I was like, man, like I don't want to put in this effort.
Hmm.
But then, you know, as the pandemic dragged on, I got back into law enforcement. I realized that like I listen to podcasts every day, like at
Hmm.
work, driving around or driving to work and
Yeah.
I'm like, man, there's some good ones out there for, my field, but I could do that. And, I jumped into it and I've stayed way more busier than I thought I was going to doing the podcast.
Mhm.
But what's funny is everybody always asks me, why am I doing it? But I'm a lifelong learner, and so, like, every time I have a guest on, like, I actually just enjoy talking to the guest and learning new things
Yeah,
because it's something I can add to my toolkit. So, like, I love that
absolutely.
I'm passing this message along to everybody else, but I'm sitting here learning from you as well, and I love it.
Yeah, it is a lot of work, especially if you do everything yourself. You do video and, all of the notes and tagging and editing and all the things. But it really is, if you have a heart to give, it's a way to share our message in a way that people can kind of DIY listen to on their own time. I love listening to podcasts on YouTube because I'll play the video and it just kind of goes to the next one and then the next one and the next one. That's why I love YouTube. So, I just love having them. And I, much like you, constantly learning. I'd rather listen to a podcast than watch TV. And
Yep.
podcasts are really, digestible. They're, 30 or 40 minutes or however long. They're just so much easier to take into bites and really process and enjoy. And if you don't like it, you can move on, go to the next one. But I also have learned that it's something that the world needs, our message, and we just have to be courageous enough to put it out there.
I agree wholeheartedly. Agree wholeheartedly. I love it. So as we kind of wrap up, I want to let people know how they get in contact with you because I've started something new. I like wrapping up with, so I'm going to save that for a minute.
Okay.
If people want to check you out, you've told us where we can get the podcast at.
Hmm.
Where can they reach out to you for coaching? Your quizzes, your
Yeah.
classes. Where can they check you out at?
So website is coachkarengray.com. They can reach me through there. I have a bunch of freebies on there so they can go into my free tools and resources, or they can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Facebook at Coach Karen Gray, and it's Gray if you're not watching and just listening. And Karen is just the traditional Karen. So you can find me anywhere. I'm on all the sites. I have a TikTok. It's not where I hang out the most.
Right.
Instagram and Facebook are my primary, and then I do have the professional arm over on LinkedIn as well. But just
Love it.
anytime. And I'm in Dallas. First call's free. So would love to support any first responder, especially if you're finding yourself struggling and you don't have a safe person to go to. Absolutely reach out to me. Shoot me a DM. Go to my website, click on, contact or more information, and I will absolutely get back to you.
I love that. Thank you so much. Um, as I end this, I've been trying something new. I want to end it with on a positive message for everybody.
Mhm.
If today was your last day and you could share one wisdom of nugget with the world,
Yeah.
what would Karen Gray's nugget of wisdom be?
Oh my goodness. So I love this question because I feel like my whole purpose is to make my dash relevant. And when I say that, we think about our headstone, have our, opening date and our closing date, and it's really about the dash. And if I could share anything, it's to make your dash valuable. And it doesn't matter what people think, doesn't matter what their opinions are of you. Their opinions of you are none of your business. Your job here is to make your dash relevant.
Yep. I love it. Love it. Karen, thank you so much for joining me tonight, and you are always
Thanks,
welcome
Brent.
back.
I would love to come back. I'm sure we have more conversations that need to be had, but we'll let the guests
Absolutely.
tell us. They can tell us if they want me to come back.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Appreciate it. Keep doing what you're doing. It matters.
Thank you.